to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. So I'm going to get into it. Okay, so the NBA draft just recently concluded. Okay, um, so June 16th, 1986 was what Charles Barkley says the worst day of his life as a Philadelphia 76er, okay? And the reason why Charles Barkley says it was the worst day that it was worst day he ever had when he was a Philadelphia 76er was because of this. Philadelphia 76ers made two catastrophic franchise-altering blockbuster trades during the 1986 draft, okay? So first of all, Philadelphia had the number one overall pick, okay? Number one overall pick of the 86 draft, okay? And they were going to select Brad Doherty, okay? So, Charles Barkley was going to play with Brad Doherty. You got Dr. J in his final season, okay? So you're going to potentially have a starting lineup of Doherty, Julius Erving, Charles Barkley, and a couple of other players I probably can't name. Maurice Cheeks, okay, yeah. Maurice Cheeks was the point guard, okay. And probably another player I could not name, okay. But Charles Barkley talked about how excited he was to play with Brad Doherty, okay. And Brad Doherty coming to Philadelphia, he had Charles Barkley to learn from, Julius Erving to learn from, Maurice Cheeks to learn from, okay. And possibly Moses Malone to learn from, okay. But apparently Philadelphia had other ideas, okay. So the disaster started when they traded the number one overall pick. The 76ers sent the first overall pick, which they acquired from the Clippers in 1979, to the Cleveland Cavaliers for forward Roy Hinson and $800,000 in cash. Cleveland used the pick to select center Brad Doherty. Go figure. Let's see. Also, not only did they give up the number one pick and potentially Brad Doherty, they traded Moses Malone to the Washington Bullets. The 76ers dealt future Hall of Fame center Moses Malone, Terry Catledge, and 2 first-round draft picks. Let me read that one more time. The 76ers dealt future Hall of Fame center Moses Malone, Terry Catledge, and 2 first-round draft picks to the Washington Bullets in exchange for Jeff Ruland and Cliff Robinson. Not Portland Trailblazer Cliff Robinson. There was another Cliff Robinson before Cliff Robinson, okay? Yeah. 76ers traded away their entire future, okay? And what the 76ers management was saying, those trades were made for Charles. They wanted it to be Charles's team. And apparently Charles Barkley didn't quite see it that way. Both trades were highly criticized and deeply regretted by players like Barkley, who believed these moves destroyed Philadelphia's chances of winning a championship. Okay. And Charles Barkley talked about that. Saw the article on Basketball Network. I had to spend another 4 years sucking in Philly. Charles Barkley recalls the dumbest Sixers trade that ended his championship hopes. Barkley says the 76ers' 86 offseason trades, including Moses Malone, trading Moses Malone, losing the number one pick, cost him at least one championship. Okay, throughout the history of the association, there have been countless deals that could have make or break a franchise. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming to the Lakers in 1975. Yeah. Lakers got 5 championships out of that trade. Yep. Whether it was snagging a sleeper pick in the draft or handling some clever maneuvering in the offseason, it has always been crucial for a team to maximize its assets and build towards success. Lifting that Larry O'Brien trophy in June. However, if you ask Charles Barkley, there is one franchise that was so spectacularly bad at it that it ultimately cost him at least one championship. That team was the Philadelphia 76ers, in the fateful moment where it all came crumbling down during the 86 offseason. I'm being serious for 1 second now. This is Charles Barkley talking, okay? I'm being serious for 1 second now. I've been bitter and angry because that cost me at least one championship, probably two. Because I was just becoming a star. We had the number one pick in the draft. And me and the guys went out to celebrate that night. This is the night before the draft, and we got drunk as hell. Barkley recalled in his recent podcast on Bill Simmons. Okay? Understandably, Sir Charles was feeling himself. Entering his third year in the NBA, he was already a member of a second All-NBA team, ranked 6th in MVP voting for the 85-86 season, securing the number one pick, which was undoubtedly going to be used for Brad Daugherty. Felt like hitting the jackpot, but celebrating a little too early proved costly, as a single phone call in the middle of the night changed everything. It was longtime 76ers reporter Phil Jasner with the uneasy task of delivering the bad news to their star player. So this is Charles talking again. Phil, there is no way the Sixers are that stupid to trade away the number one pick in the draft, he says, and it gets worse. Well, it can't get any worse than that, Barkley added, while saying that he had to get a nice long shower session before getting all that information in. It was about 5:30 in the morning. Phil, explain to me what's going on, Charles continued the story. He says, you guys have just traded the number one pick in the draft to Cleveland. And you guys traded Moses Malone to the Washington Bullets at the time for Jeff Ruland. Ruland didn't play in 2 years. Unfortunately for Barkley, this wasn't some fever dream or fall of alcohol talking. It was a harsh reality for the entire organization. Sixers blew their golden ticket to dominate the association for at least a decade. Bird's Celtics were on their last legs. Johnson's Lakers weren't getting any younger either. With the right moves, it could have been a battle between... I was just about to get to his point too. I was about to get to his point too. With the right moves, it could have been a battle between the Bulls, Pistons, and the Sixers. A team built around Barkley, Malone, and Toady. Malone did so much for Barkley in his pro career up until that point. So this one stung a bit more. He was meant to bridge the gap between until Chuck and Brad could take over the reins completely. But it wasn't meant to be. And yes, sir, you guessed it. Sir Charles still resents that decision from the organization to this very day. From that point on, I was so angry. I had to spend another 4 years sucking in Philly, he concluded. A couple of bad decisions have kept the 76ers stuck in the middle of the pack, and Barkley, ringless and bitter. And honestly, who could blame him? Yeah. So, um, yeah, think about all that. The 76ers going into the 1987 season potentially could have had a starting lineup of Malone at center, um, Doherty at the power forward, Julius Erving at the small forward. Um, well, Barkley was a starter. Okay, Barkley was a starter. So, man, I don't know if Brad Doherty would have came off the bench or not. Nah. I think he would have came off the bench because I don't think Julius Erving was giving up his starting spot. Yeah, but if those trades had not gone through, it could have been Malone at center, Barkley at the power forward, Irving at the small forward, um, Maurice Cheeks at point, and who would have been a shooting guard on that team? Andrew Toney, yeah, with Brad Doherty coming off the bench, possibly. Okay, possibly, and if that trade had not gone down, maybe the Pistons don't go to the NBA Finals in 1988, 89, 90. Maybe the Bulls take a few more years to win a few more to win their championships. Um, but if those trades would not have happened, I believe the balance of power would have been a three-way struggle between the Pistons, the Bulls, the 76ers, and probably to a lesser degree the Celtics, okay, who were, as I read, were on their last legs, okay. But yeah, um, yeah. So who knows? And so, hold on. So, um, hold okay. So, Roy Henson, okay. Um, the season before 1985-86, he averaged nearly 20 points per game. So Roy Henson was a 20-point per game scorer. Our club host too. Then he came to Philadelphia, averaged 14 points, 11.5 points, 17.6 points, 16 points, 15 points. So Roy Henson was still uh, pretty decent, if not good player for them. Okay. Um, so Roy Henson kind of worked out. Okay. Roy Henson kind of worked out. Jeff Rulin. Boy. Jeff Rulin, I believe he played in only 5 games that season before tearing up his knee. Okay. Yep. 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 He played in 5 games, averaged 9.5 points before blowing out his knee. Okay. And he was out of basketball for about the next 4 years. Okay. Jeff Ruler injured his knee 5 games into the 1987 season. Was out of basketball for the next 4 years. Came back in 1992, ironically, with the Philadelphia 76ers. And played another year in 1993 with the Detroit Pistons. Okay. So, yeah. So that didn't work out too well. Also didn't work out too well in the 76ers' favor either. Because they made the playoffs in 1987, but got eliminated in the first round by the Milwaukee Bucks. They didn't make the playoffs in 1988. They got swept by the New York Knicks in 1989 in the first round. Then the Bulls crushed them in 5 games in 1990 in the second round. Then in 1991, they lose to the Bulls again in the second round. 1992, they don't even make the postseason. Okay? So, yeah. I think Charles was wrong about one thing, though. He had to spend the next 4 years sucking in Philadelphia. No. He had to spend the next 6 years sucking in Philadelphia. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, because that trade really didn't do nothing for the Philadelphia 76ers except set them 2 steps behind the Bulls and the Pistons. Okay? So, yeah. All right. That's it. And that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am out of here. May God bless you all.